All right, so as I said, my grandpa kind of confused me. He was kind of rational, but also new age. And like I said, at the time I was a Marxist, but then he was moving me more toward the right wing. And he, I always thought that he was anti-religion, and that I was anti-religion. I was anti-religious Marxist. I wanted race mixing. I saw myself as Jewish and wanted the white people to race mix. I always saw the white people as the biggest threat, and I was anti-white. But then my grandpa's kind of bringing me more toward the religious side again. He's telling me that, Judaism, he said that basically people should follow the religion that they're born into, and it can be beneficial. It can, for instance, he was, one thing that happened was when I took him to the Chabad, one of the rabbi's wife wouldn't touch my grandpa, and when my grandpa put out his hand to give her a handshake, and my grandpa was like, huh, they don't do that? But I was like, yeah, I didn't like that. I was like, see, I want to be like, see, they're white supremacists. They want to subjugate women to make them baby makers, because they, religious people just want to perpetuate the white race and maintain the status quo. That's the way I always was when I was a Marxist. But then my grandpa I asked my grandpa, what do you think about them not allowing women to touch men? And my grandpa was like, it could be a beneficial ritual, because, first off, touching could be self-confirmatory, and also promiscuous sex could be self-confirmatory. And also, my grandpa said just any rituals in and of themselves that can take people out, that can prevent people. My grandpa would say that if you're in the flow, you wouldn't need any ritual. But because most people aren't in the flow, the rituals help to protect people and to help, take people out of their habits and circumstances and relationships and stuff, and helps them to get more into the flow and transcend the ego self. It can be a beneficial practices, beneficial rituals. So I was like, okay, so my grandpa's moving more toward the religious now. So I went from being anti-white, Marxist, anti-religious, and my grandpa's moving me more toward religious again. So then I'm becoming more right-wing again. But at the same time, I was confused, because my grandpa's like, well, white supremacy, right-wing is not the flow either. But I'm like, but then what are you talking about? Are you right-wing? Are you left-wing? I didn't understand what my grandpa was teaching, but now I kind of understand. But at the time, I didn't understand. I'm trying to get it, but now I understand, you can have two opposing views in your head at the same time, and that's actually beneficial. And like my grandpa would say, there's a left-handed path, there's a right-handed path. Either one can lead to the flow, right? But I was anti-white, more pro-black, so I wanted to believe the good is bad, the bad is good. Being bad can actually lead you more into the flow. And remember, when I was younger, I wanted to read the Adam and Eve story as God chose Adam because he knew he would be disobedient, because disobedience is actually closer to the flow. And that's why Adam was ironically chosen. That's why Israelites were chosen, because ironically they don't believe, they're not obedient, but that's closer to the flow. That's why they're the chosen people. So being bad is good and being good is bad. That's why I wanted to see things, because I was anti-white, anti-status quo, and I wanted to race mix the white people. So but I did it under the garb of, oh, let's help the poor, let's help, Jesus was a Marxist, Jesus wanted to help. That's the way that I was, because that's the way I wanted to see things, because I was always, I saw the white people as being more fascist, and I wanted to be and I always saw them as being anti-communist, so I wanted to be communist and be like, oh, Jesus was a communist, So, anyway, but at that time my shot was still messed up, because, like I said, after the shoe-away machine, I got the shoe-away machine that made me, I'll show this a little bit. So with the shoe-away machine, I would pick the ball off the rack, and I'd pick it off the rack like this, and I'd step like this, and it made me shoot my left foot in front of my right. So then my dad, then I started shooting square, and my dad was like, you're shooting wrong. So then my dad tried to fix it, and he told me, okay, pick the ball off the rack and step straight forward and go and turn into it and put your right foot to the side, and this will make you sideways like you used to be. But my dad didn't know that when I was younger. It was based off how I moved into shots. I'm not gonna get into details, but I would just catch it, my left foot would be pointed out, and then I'd shoot. Or, I'd catch it, left foot pointed out this way, and then right foot toward the basket. So catch it, left foot pointed out, right foot to the basket, and shoot. But then my dad tried to make me go like this. And I'm going to get more into that later. But at this time, after the shoot-away machine, my dad told me to do this. So at this time I was still shooting like this, but I was moving into shots more natural. I wasn't, because at the time when I had the shooting machine, I would catch the ball in games, and I would step straight forward and go like this and shoot. I'd be catching the game, and I'm picking the ball off the rack and go like that. Nobody does that, but no good shooter does that. But then I started shooting more natural, catching it, and shooting more natural, but I was still shooting with my left foot pointed toward the basket and my right foot toward the side. This is like 2018, because that's when my dad told me to shoot. And I hadn't really studied the videos enough, and like I said, I just thought the shoot away, I knew the shoot away messed up my shot, because, you know, my dad, because I knew that it made me start shooting my left foot in front of my right, and then my dad tried to fix it, so I knew that that's what messed me up, but I thought that, you know, it messed me up. I didn't think there was any way I could really fix it. I thought my muscle memory was just destroyed. I didn't think that there was any way to fix it, you know? So, but then I remember it was about that time when I started looking at the videos a little bit more, and I started to realize, wait, I didn't shoot with my left foot pointed forward. I shot with my left foot pointed out when I was before the shoot away machine. So then I started to fix it a little bit. This is like 2018. I remember I was coaching with this guy named Rob Valentine, and I started to fix it a little bit. But I can't go into details about what I was doing with my shot, because I don't want to make good shooters think. But this is just like the very details. But I was moving into shots better, so I was moving into better. But so I started to shoot more with my left foot pointed out, but I was still shooting my right foot pointed to the side, because that's what my dad told me to do. And but I wanted to get on a professional basketball team, so I started talking to a guy. So I was still shooting wrong. I wasn't shooting my left foot pointed out, my right foot pointing toward the basket. I was shooting with both feet toward the side at this time, because that's what my dad told me to do with my right foot. After the shoot away messed up my shot. Like I said, if it wasn't for the shoot away, none of this would have happened. My dad would have never tried to fix my shot. Before the shoot away machine, I have videos of me shooting overhead. I was shooting really good. My footwork was perfect. It was the shoot away that messed it up, that made me shoot bad. And my dad tried to fix it, told me to do the wrong thing. If it wasn't for the shoot away machine, none of this stuff would have happened. I was the best shooter in the country, and even when I was shooting overhead, I was still shooting right. But then, you know, because I was picking them off the rack, it made me shoot wrong with my left foot in front of my right. Then my dad tried to fix it, told me to do the wrong thing, and everything just deteriorated from there. So at this time, I started to kind of fix it, but I was still shooting bad. But I talked to this dude from 24 Hour Fitness, who was, you know, friends with Rob Valentine, who I was coaching with. And this guy was like, well, you know, I know this guy, Mike Miller, who coaches professional basketball, and he can get you on a professional team. So I talked with Mike Miller, and Mike Miller was like, well, you know, can you play on my college team? Because I told him that I had played Division II, but I hadn't gotten a game. I redshirted. He said, well, since you only redshirted, you can play Division III NAIA for a year. So play on my Division III NAIA team in Compton, University of Los Angeles. So I started playing with them in Compton. And he said, you know, at first he didn't think I was going to be any good, but then I got there, and then the coach there said I was really good, and he liked the way I played, and he wanted me on the team. So I was playing with University of Los Angeles, but the thing was, my shot was still messed up at the time. I was still shooting wrong. I was still shooting with both feet pointed to the side, because that's how my dad told me to do it. But my dad told me to put my left foot forward and my right foot to the side. But now it's putting my left foot to the side and my right foot to the side, as opposed to my left foot to the side and my right foot forward, which is what I did when I was the best shooter in the country and what good shooters do. And I'm not going to go into details because I want to make good shooters think. But, at the time I was moving into shots better. You know, not like I did when I picked the ball off the shoot away rack, which is what messed up my shot. That's the whole reason, is because I was picking the ball off the rack and moving into shots. But I don't want to go into details because I want to make good shooters think. But I was shooting a little bit better, but it was still messed up. So then I remember I went with University of Los Angeles in Compton, and we went to a game, and I ran into my friend Malik's dad. I played with Malik when I was younger, and Malik's dad had videoed a lot of my games. And I was too afraid to ask him still, because like I said, at this time, I had discovered the theory of everything, but I didn't think that people believed me. You know, I had all my stuff online, but, you know, my grandpa didn't believe me, and I wasn't sure that he believed me. So I was too afraid to ask people yet, because I wanted first to get respect and for people to understand that I'm not crazy. And then I wanted to ask people for the video. So I see him, and I want to ask him, hey, do you have any videos? Can you give me some videos of when I was younger? I want to study I want to study swag flow. I want to study how I move. I want to study all that stuff. But I was too afraid to ask him. But he watched me play. We were in like Orange County or something, and we had a game, and I had played earlier that day. So this game I played terrible, the worst I've ever played probably. And you know, Pat Barrett was there, and Pat Barrett talked to me, and Pat Barrett was like, Ryan, you know, you were a really great player. You know, Pat Barrett's one of the biggest recruiters in history. Like he's like a very, very famous recruiter. He was like, you're a great player when you were younger, you know. But he said it was after that golf cart accident, and this was when I was 12 years old, that your game kind of fell off. And I was like, but I didn't want to tell him, because I couldn't tell him, but it wasn't because of that. That's what he probably thinks, and that's what Malik's dad thought, Kenny. But I was like, no, that it was a shoot away machine, but I can't explain it to them, you know. But I can show videos, and I will show videos, but, you know, I don't want to make good shooters think, so I'm not going to go into details online, but I could show my dad what happened and everything. But, you know, it was a shoot away machine. The same exact time of the golf cart accident, my dad got the shoot away machine. That's what messed up my game. That's what messed me up. That's what messed up everything. But yeah, I was a really great player. You know, I was one of the best players in the country. I was probably the best shooter in the country. But, you know, the shooting machine messed up my shot. But I'll get into that. So I played really bad in the game because at the time I was still shooting with my left foot pointed out and my right foot to the side because I hadn't studied the videos enough to really figure it out yet. And also, like, I was moving into shots better, but still I was doing it wrong. And I'll get into this later. But because then I started studying the videos a lot as I was playing with University of Los Angeles. So at this time I'm playing with them, and I'm with two guys on the team. I'm driving them to practice, right? And one of the guys on the team was like, you know, as they would drive, I would have my friend drive, who was playing with me on the team, and as he would drive, I would watch videos of when I was younger, and that's when I started to fix my shot a lot more. So I started to really study things in depth, and I started seeing like exactly what I was doing. So I started to try to duplicate exactly how I shot when I was considered the best shooter in the country. Everything that I did, every little thing, how I moved into it, my approach, every single thing. So I started to duplicate everything, and I started shooting a little bit better. But my shot was still a little bit messed up, but I was starting to shoot way better. But this is what happened. So then, one of the guys who I was playing with at University of Los Angeles in Compton, he was like, "Hey, let's try out for the Compton College team. It's a junior college team." And I thought that would be better because at this University of Los Angeles team, they would make you pay to be at the school. So, but at the Compton College team, you didn't have to pay because it's a junior college. You only have to pay like $100. But at the other school, you had to pay like, you know, a couple thousand or something, maybe 10,000 for the year. I forget what it was, but it was a lot. So I was like, well, then I'll play with this I'll try out for the Compton College team. So I tried out, and the coach of the Compton College team was like, "You're really good. I want you on the team," because I was shooting really well. Because at the time was when I started studying the videos in depth, and I started to really fix my shot. I started to duplicate what I saw in the videos, but still was messed up. I'll get to this. But so the first few practices I'm playing with them, I'm shooting really good, and I'm doing really good. And the coach on the Compton College team is like, "Dude, you could possibly be a starter on this team." So I'm playing with Compton College. Things are going good, but then my shot was still messed up though. So then the coach starts seeing that after, you know I'm practicing with them, you know, after a few weeks, and my shot's still a little bit messed up. So then, but I'm still studying the videos. But then I remember the first week of practice, I did really good. It was because I was sitting in classes at Compton College, and as I was sitting in classes, I would be watching my basketball videos, and I started to duplicate things exactly. And the coach at Compton College showed us how to shoot, and he had his left foot pointed out and his right foot toward the basket. And I started seeing how I did that when I was younger, and I remembered that there was this famous basketball shooting coach who said to do that, and I realized that's what I did, and it wasn't the way that my dad told me to shoot. So I started fixing my shot, and I started to try to duplicate exactly as I saw in the videos, how I moved into it, everything. And then if I can go into details, you would understand what I'm talking about, but I don't want to go into details because I don't want to make good shooters think. But just trust me, I started duplicating things exactly, and that's why I want as many videos as possible of when I was younger. Because if I duplicate exactly, I could, you know, that was when I was the best shooter in the country, and if I duplicate exactly what I did, it's like magic. It works. It makes me shoot good. So I want more videos. But so I duplicated it, and then I started to shoot a lot better. But still at this time, I was still shooting. I mean, it took a while from, even to this day, I would like more videos. I'd like to fix things as much as I possibly can. But it's way better than it was before. My shot is way improved 100-fold, 1,000-fold, because my shot was really bad for a while. So, and then the coach was like, you know, he's saying I could be a starter perhaps on a team, at least in the top 8. I'll be in the top 8 lineup at Compton College. But then it was like the third week of school, third week of practice, I sprained my ankle really bad. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to continue because I had a bad sprained ankle, and it wasn't a good idea for me to continue. I sprained the ankle too many times. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to quit. Because I was like, I can't play, I can't continue with the season with a sprained ankle. So I just quit at Compton College. And then that's when I went with my I drove to Washington to live with my grandpa, and I'll get to that. And this is when I started to understand my grandpa's teachings more, because that's when I started reading Dr. Horace books. But I'll get to that in 1 second.